Thank you for joining For Our Special Kids, where we openly and honestly discuss the magic and the mess of raising a child with special needs. We are thrilled to have you here and hope this time provides you with some wonder and wisdom. I'm your host, Jennifer Lansing. Let's get started. I am super excited to introduce today's Reclaim Your Life episode with Annette Moreau. However, before we jump in, I wanted to let you know that the application process for the Apricity Hope Project's Autumn Beach Retreat in September is open. Yay! Last episode, I briefly mentioned this really exciting retreat. It is in September 21st through the 24th in North Carolina on the Outer Banks. It's a 3-day retreat. It's only for moms who are the primary caregivers of medically complex and or disabled children with life-threatening complications. This event is being sponsored by Apricity Hope, and for most people will be $250 plus your travel arrangements. So it's a really incredible program to be a part of, and I'm super excited. We'll be taking applications until March 26th. All applications will receive notification regarding next steps by April 3rd. And also, please note, we're only able to accept a very small group of mamas this time. However, if you aren't selected this time, each application will be considered for future events. I am thrilled to be keynoting this event, but most importantly, I'm just excited to bring together a wonderful group of mamas to share experiences, make heartfelt connections, rejuvenate our souls, and really to give one another hope. It will be a very rewarding time for all of us. So go over to www.apricityhope.org to find the application, and all details are in our show notes as well. All right, on to the show. I hope you enjoy, and let me know what you think. I am with Annette Moreau from Annette Moreau Coaching, and I'm just excited to introduce you to her because she has so much to offer. And as we are looking at March and celebrating women of our history, I think it's a really good time for us to talk about how we can feel the best we can within our own bodies. What can we do to feel our best so that when people look back on us and they can say, goodness, she was a woman of our history too. So I'm excited to introduce you. Let me go ahead and just go right into your bio, Annette. So you are a certified life coach and intuitive healer. Yes. She is a wife, mother, and regular gal, intentionally striving to live every day in balance and connected to her own spirit so that she can feel good about herself and love others. Annette knows how to find peace because her life used to be overwhelming. Oh, don't you know it? 16 years ago, you had 2 children. Each were suffering with multiple life-threatening long-term medical conditions. You write that your marriage was failing and that you had lost your career and your personal life so that you could stay at home and care for your sons. You said you're miserable. You were living daily in survival mode and using ineffective coping skills and adding heartaches and trauma to an already wounded heart. Unable to find the meaningful solutions and help that she longed for, she went on a quest to figure it out and create what she needed. Her journey was so empowering. She was motivated to start her own business, Annette Moreau Coaching, with a desire to help other women who have lost their sense of self to what's been hard and hurting, to find the clarity, self-compassion, and confidence required to reclaim themselves and create a life they love. Doesn't that sound just fun? Annette, thank you so much for being here. I just feel better after reading your bio.
Thank you so much, Jen. I just enjoyed meeting you. Yeah. Thank you for the honor of being able to come on and chat with you and share whatever I can. I'd be so glad to for your audience. Absolutely. We deserve it.
Well, we're thrilled. We deserve it. I think that's what I was just going to say. From being a medical mom, and I know from being a special needs mom, self-care and feeling just heavy and depressed and all of those things. Those are so many emotions that many of us are living. And I'll be honest, sometimes I can go 3 or 4 days without having some heavy feelings. And then sometimes it hits me like a ton of bricks. So let's talk a little bit about what you think are some of the key concepts that we as special needs moms or as medical moms need to understand if we really do want to feel better. What do you think? What do you got?
Yeah. Oh, I got some ideas.
Okay, good.
How long have you got? You know,
Hours.
So I think you touched on really already the most important thing, and that is the power of emotions. It's so important that we start paying attention to our emotions and what's going on the inside. And I know, we've got all this going on the outside, and we're living, for the most part, I would say most of us, right, in this reaction mode of like, oh my gosh, I've got all this, right? And then this is making me feel X, Y, and Z. I have heard it said before that emotions are the most powerful force in the world. And if you think about it, it's so true, right? Emotions cause wars because people are upset. Emotions make us want to go and do dramatic things in the name of love. I mean, emotions, have civil rights movements behind them. So our emotions are affecting us. And so that would be something I would want to share with everyone. They're affecting your physical health if you're not coping with your emotions. And we're talking really about negative emotions. So, of course, positive emotions are lovely, but we're talking about really the negative ones, the hard, stressful ones, which, of course, a special needs life, a medical mom life, whether you are also maybe even caring for somebody else, it doesn't matter. Like a heavy life is super important to pay attention to, and not just, oh, this is what's going on. It's so important. And even more so because emotions drive our actions and behaviors. And you know this, but let's highlight it again. How we show up to take care of our kids, how we show up for ourselves is all tainted by whatever emotion we're brewing and stewing in.
Oh, yes.
So if we're in a place of exhaustion or frustration or sadness, that becomes us, whether we want to say that is or not. That's then who we are.
Right. I mean, how often when someone asks, so how are you? You either just go to automatic, I'm fine, because it's the only way you can cope through where you're going, or it's, oh, I'm barely making it through the day. I'm exhausted. So often those things come out of our mouths. And you're absolutely correct. When we are in the exhausted, extreme fatigue state, man, I don't know about anybody else, but my patience level with my beautiful child goes down the drain. I got nothing. I mean, and so you're absolutely correct. That emotion, because I didn't stand up for myself or find way, like stand up for myself, I just mean self-care, like take care of myself, because I'm not being honest about that fatigue, then it's causing me to behave differently, which then it totally affects my momming. And then it absolutely affects my relationship with my child and their relationships with themselves.
Yes, absolutely. And what ends up happening is the more we feel bad, the more we feel bad, right? Like it's this,
yes.
It's kind of this self-fulfilling sort of prophecy. It's also very true that, what and how we feel that we are limits or creates the sense of what we believe we can do. So if we're already like, hey, I'm tired or I'm depressed, right? Those are identity statements. So suddenly we're walking around saying, I am this less than person. I am not capable. And then hope seems far away. Being happy seems far away. And so we almost make it worse for ourselves. Also, I can tell you from a spiritual point of view, when we're in those places, which is a very brain place to be.
Yeah.
Sky is falling. My life is crappy. I mean, I will admit, I did not like my life. Very strong words I could have said, at times about the seasons in my life, right? We're disconnected though. We completely disconnect from our heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's a spiritual disconnection. And so then we're over here festering. I use that word. Something, right? It's like,
Oh yeah.
and we're disconnected from our heart. So how is it then possible to find hope, to reconnect with love, to try to feel some self-care, do some self-care, to tap back into more of the caring that we need in order to help our children, let alone help ourselves? So it can be this out of control spiral. And I know it's so hard. It can be so hard sometimes because we feel it. We feel it greatly. That's just really the thing, is start paying attention. Start looking, start paying attention.
So once we start paying attention to the fact that our emotions are becoming I am statements and really are becoming our self identity, what do we do next?
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, we don't want to stay there, right?
And how many of us don't start beating up ourselves when we start realizing how negative we are? Like
Yeah.
that's a very huge tendency that I used to have as well. I would catch myself. I'd try to be like, okay, I'm going to be positive. I'm going to, have good positive affirmations in my head. And then I would catch myself being negative. And instead of just shifting it to just a little bit better feeling, I would all of a sudden be like, total failure. And then you compound the negativity. So one,
Yeah.
it is good just to acknowledge, yeah, I'm feeling this.
Yeah.
Two, don't berate yourself for feeling it and acknowledging it. Okay,
Yeah.
now on to you.
Yes. Yes. No, no, no. Thank you for saying that, because one is a place of I'm judging myself. Oh, look at you, like you can't have the strength. You can't have patience for your kid. What are we doing? We're such a bad parent. And then the other one is a response, not a reaction, but an actual response of compassion. Those are the choices that we have always. There's always a positive or a negative response to any situation. But the key, of course, is the awareness. We've got to catch ourselves when we feel the downward spiral or the negative emotion that we're feeling, to catch ourselves to go, oh, wow, look where I am. Like literally like a location. Like, look where I am. And you get to choose. We all get to choose. Do I want to stay there? How is this helping me? you know, Sometimes when we're so overwhelmed, I know that that's hard, but if you can start to, because you're feeling it so intensely, right? Because it can be a lot, to go, wow, like I'm not liking this. And instead of having the freak out,
Mhm.
I'm going to, rant and rave, or I'm going to just tell everybody how sucky my life is. Let's make a more positive, proactive sort of choice and change that really can affect you in a better way, which would be, let's make the shift. And what is
Okay.
that? And that's the
Yeah.
definition of self-care right there.
Yeah. The shift. So then how do we do that? I was talking to another mom a couple of days ago and she's like, I'm dead inside. I was like, "Ugh." I mean, that it's a very true emotion, a true place to be, a location, like you said. So we become aware, we acknowledge it. What do we do to start caring for ourselves?
There's twofold answers to that. One is the nitty gritty in the moment when it's just you, walking around doing your life. Okay. And that is, you've got to catch yourself. There's no help if you don't catch yourself. So really starting to be aware of, however soon it can happen, catching yourself in a feeling. And then really that's a self-care moment. Like whenever you are out of balance, if it's not a peaceful, good, joyful, feel good moment, then you're out of balance. You're in a place you don't want to be. So whatever that means for you, and that's what I started to do. This was exactly what I had to learn myself. You have to question it. Is this what I want? Is this helping my family? Does this make me feel good? Like, what's going on here? And what would help in each moment, in each little eek feeling or out of balance or whatever it is that you don't like. And that's up to everyone to decide what that is. What would help? And to me, that's my favorite definition for self-care. What would help in that moment? What is the gesture of love? Maybe it's just a walk away timeout. Like, I just need a mommy break. Let me pee by myself, please. Or, whatever.
Oh no, that's
you
a
know,
very good one for all
you
of
know,
us.
I just need to go for a walk around the block. I need the nap. I need the girl time. What is it? I need you to hug me. I need to leave this hospital room and not see this for just a bit. I need a meal.
Yeah.
What is it? Only you can
Oh,
decide.
I just got emotional. I could feel that from you. That was a very real, you just went right there. You went right into the hospital room with your sons. I
Oh
felt it.
yeah.
I was like, oh gosh, I got shivers all over.
Yeah.
And that's how easy it is for all of us to just jump into those moments of extreme.
Yeah.
Whatever that emotion then that follows,
Yeah.
it's so easy for us to jump there. I love that. Okay, what can help?
So everyone has to decide that for themselves. And so for me, I started questioning everything, every moment, because I had been in such extremes. Everything had hurt. My thoughts had hurt, what I was doing, the overwhelm of all of the care. Nothing that I was doing was a successful way of dealing with my life. So for me, and I can only say, for me, what I would recommend is I question whether or not those thoughts I was thinking were helpful, to think about them in that way. Like, do I need the physical part, the timeouts, the time management, all of those sorts of things? So I would start, kind of breaking your life down and going, what's working, what's not? Another thing, I really feel that everyone needs healing work. When the heart hurts that much and you've been carrying around that much, and not only just from your child's experience in parenting that, but most likely, we've all had imperfect childhood and we got our heart broken and, whatever, to take a look at, what have we been carrying? Because it's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The guilt, the stress, the heartbreak. I think that's the heartache, the heartbreak of this isn't the life that I thought I would have. It doesn't have to mean that that's a worse life. It's okay to admit this may not be the life that I thought I was going to have. And so how do I back that out? How do I realize that this doesn't have to be worse, but it's okay to acknowledge that it's not what I thought I was going to have?
Absolutely. And that's super important, that level of acceptance to being able to be present, which is what everyone in your life, in your family deserves, for you to be present. And you deserve it most of all, because we can't experience the joy and the sweet stuff if we're focused and consumed by the things that hurt, or we're still grieving and feeling guilt, or we're caught up in, but this shouldn't be happening. This is not the life that I wanted. We can miss really the life that we are having.
Yeah. So what are the things that, when you talk about healing work, what does that mean? What do you do? How do you help people?
I do a number of things, but the healing work, we're really talking about, of course, heart stuff. So because we hurt, when we have wounds that we haven't processed, that we haven't healed, they're still there with us, like an open wound, which is why we get triggered so easily. We can feel things because we're used to that feeling before, whether it's abandonment, it's sadness, it's whatever. So one of the beautiful things that I learned, and again, mostly because I wanted to heal myself, when I realized that, wow, I couldn't move forward in my life just doing mindset work, being positive wasn't enough. I was still having this hurt, was realizing that our body does hold on to unprocessed emotions. Some of you may know that. You may have heard that before. The body keeps the score. If we have not processed anything, our subconscious stores it for later. It's like, okay, you're not capable right now. We're in too much shock. We're overwhelmed. We really don't know what to do with this. This is a lot. We're going to just tuck that aside somewhere else and we'll get to it later.
Yeah.
And of course, we keep adding
and then
more.
That pile keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and as you were mentioning it, I mean, there's also past lives that can hang on. I had a major experience in Hawaii recently where I had a whole gargantuan realization of a healing moment that I needed to have in Hawaii, but it had nothing to do with this life. I know that's a little woo-woo, but I knew it was from a past life. And I think that's something that we can also, not to add more layers, people, sorry. Oh God. But sometimes if you can't clearly identify why something is happening right now or why you have that feeling, it's okay to maybe just say, that could have happened the last time I was here. And I don't have to know why, but just understand that it hurts or something needs to get fixed. Did I just take you off on a complete tangent? You're like,
no, you went to the advanced level a little bit, which is totally, I can go there. But let me answer your question first, and then maybe we can get into that, or we can do another conversation. The short version is, so many of our past experiences, which are then have a connection to, right, that emotion, the past depression, the past whatever, they're stored in the subconscious, or the subconscious is a great way to map and find them. And a lot of the work that I do is working with the subconscious, where we can locate exactly what was the past experience that you had and what are those emotions that are still connected with that. And then it can get cleared. It's a beautiful thing. It's non-invasive. It's very simple. It's a pretty interesting kind of session when we kind of go doing this sort of discovery work, sometimes inherited stuff. So that's also an option. Past life stuff can come up. And sometimes you have to go into the quantum field, or at least I'm able to do that and see if you've got soul contracts and you have all these sorts of things in play. But in your physical body spirit and in your energetic spirit, those things are there. And so, yeah, let's get rid of them. Why carry them around?
Without saying a name, can you give me an example of someone that you've worked with, maybe that it's like, okay, this is what the person was feeling, and we realized it was connected to ABC?
I'm thinking of someone that I worked with not too long ago, and she really, I would say, struggled with that. She couldn't see and feel another way to deal with her life and her situations other than the way that she was doing it. Like, it's got to work this way. I'm doing my best and I don't understand. And I'm putting in all this effort, but oh my gosh, despite all of my efforts, despite every way that I can think to do this. And I remember that too, in caring for my kids. I'm like, I'm doing all that I can do. Couldn't find any flexibility, couldn't get a break, if you will. Like, just, there was no letting up on the stress, the pressure and all that. And for simple explanations, she had an energy block in her solar plexus, and it was like a nail going right through, and it wouldn't come out easily. And it was tied to a soul contract for her that was all about limitation. Like, she needed to experience what it was like, being limited, not having choices.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of us feel like we don't have choices.
Yeah.
Like that doctor's appointment has to happen. That IEP review has to happen. That it seems like there's a lot of us that just are very limitless, or a perception of limitless.
Yeah, I think sometimes it can be perception related, or we can't see another way in which our child's life might unfold. Like, it's only going to unfold this way, when that's not really the case. So, so I find, when we can go and do our healing work, which can be messy, and I know some people don't like to do that, but it is a very interesting journey, because it reveals stuff that, in a way, you've kind of known about, maybe you haven't wanted to deal with, but it eliminates, or it has the potential to eliminate those, those tender moments where suddenly you're like in tears again. You're like, what the heck? Like, now I'm crying. And that's because these unhealed wounds. And so life just continues to kind of keep jabbing at you, or pouring lemon juice, you're like, and that's exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting. And I remember that really well. And I think you and I mentioned when we chatted once before, some of us have certain emotions we go to so quickly. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could look at my picture of my little boy and just suddenly I was so overcome with sadness. And I was just so tired. I was so tired of feeling like, oh, yuck all the time. Like, where the heck, what's the point of all this? Like, I'm tired, just weary, bone weary, tired.
Yeah.
So I think that was motivational in a way of doing the work, my work of like, I'm tired of feeling tired. I'm tired of feeling sad. Like, there's got to be more than this. I have these children. I have this life. So game on. If I have to take one more thing on my plate, fine. But this one I'm going to do to completion, because this one has the potential, to really move the needle.
You talk about the quality of life, that it's so important for us to say enough. I don't want this anymore. I want a better quality of life, period. Yeah. So what are some of the mistakes or misunderstandings that really block women in general? I know you work primarily with women, but other men as well. What block us most from being able to get that quality of life that we want?
Honestly, it's this concept of we have to do more. It's yes. Things aren't what I want. And so I got to do more. I got to give more. I got to try harder. It's not enough. There's got to be more physical therapy. There's got to be, it's always this like, give more, do more. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's such a huge misunderstanding, because we can get hidden and lost in all of that doing, because it's really not about doing more. I'm sure most everybody who's listening to this, they're doing plenty. You're doing plenty. I was doing plenty. Yeah. But it really comes back to, who are you being? We're human beings. We're not human doers. You've probably heard that before, right? But it's
Yeah.
so true. It's so again, and what I mean by that is how are we showing up? How are we being real with ourselves? Are we showing up as a sad, grief-stricken hot mess? Is that who we're showing up as? Because of course, yeah, it's not going to work. Or are we showing up partly in our body, but our headspace and heart space is somewhere else because we have checked out? And you're never going to win. You're never going to have the life you want. You're never going to feel good if you can't come to terms with that and go, okay, yes, this is where I am. It's not what I would like. It's hurtful. It's messy, but what do I do? And then that goes back to really the answers. One is you've got to heal that heart so you can show up with some joy. And then you've got to get some skills because clearly you don't have the right skills. Because things that you know how to do well don't stress you out.
Yeah.
It's when you don't know what you're doing, which what special needs mom, medical mom has ever done this before that's like, yeah, I got this. Like,
there's a playbook for it. No, there's not. So what are some of the skills that we need to hone in on a little bit? I know it's very dependent on individuals.
I'll answer it with a big and simple answer.
Okay.
And that is, again, it goes back to areas of your life, right? So there's 4 main areas of your life. And do you have the skills for those? So you need skills. You need the good skills for your practical responsibilities. What do I have to manage? Do you have good skills for those?
Even like an automatic calendar that syncs everybody. I mean, truly, it could be something as simple as that. Like,
it could be time management. Absolutely. How are you dealing with the physical stuff? And then you have all of the mental stuff. How are you managing that? Do you have good mental skills for coping with the worry and the stress and the unexpected day got hijacked or your child's diagnosis or whatever condition, changes? Like, what do you do with that? Because again, all of these things impact you and then suddenly you're changed. Emotionally, do you have good emotional skills?
Okay, let's back up for 1 second. So mentally, I mean, the first thing that popped into my head was meditation and journaling, but that is so scripted, right? I mean, for me, it is how I stay mentally sane is by meditating and journaling. But are there other things that you would recommend from a mental perspective?
That would get into some psychology sorts of skills. And there's a lot out there. There's some that I teach. I'm doing that in a program that I'm launching soon. But yeah, I mean, you've got to be able to recognize when do I have, certain thoughts that aren't helpful and constructive. If they are negative thoughts, if there's thoughts that suddenly I know I tend to have a reaction to, and they're going to send me down the spiral that I don't want to go down because that gets into the rabbit hole and suddenly we're in crazy brain. Yeah. So we've got to all start learning how to harness our mind. This is mindfulness versus letting our mind run rampant with us, because it will. Either we control our thoughts and what's going on in our mental space, or it's controlling us. Yeah. So we have to, this, coming into ownership. And that's what I think is so hard with a special needs life, is because it really is the squeaky wheel. It's so easy. There's stuff going on all the time. When is it a good time to pause and go, wait, I need a strategy. Like, I have no strategy for this. And I know I got lost in the hustle of just, scrambling all the time before I was like, what the heck? Like, I'm still doing this and we're still not any better, like, for years.
And my marriage is still failing and I still feel like crap. And yes. So then emotionally, you mentioned emotion is your next.
Yes. We need emotional skills. And emotions aren't bad and wrong. They give color to our life. So just to be able to say, wow, this is a sad time right now. What might I need right now? Okay. And then we have to go on. I mean, life goes on. That's accepting life on life's terms. Disappointment, the grief, like, where are the skills for that? When we have the skills, right? That's support. Skills are support. They give us confidence. They help us feel like we're in control of how things affect us versus everything is impacting us and we have no control over the quality of our life. Kind of a hard thing when you're like, I want to be happy, but I don't feel like I'm in control of my life. So that really can help you, mental skills, emotional skills can help you take that back. Yeah. And then the fourth thing would be something spiritual. I think we all really need to have an interconnection, whatever, again, that means to you. I honestly couldn't have done any kind of recovery or overcoming a lot of sad, hurtful sorts of things without a particular, spiritual faith for myself. So
So do you believe then that there's a spiritual, I don't know, reasoning or meaning behind these experiences that we have as
I
special
do.
needs and medical moms and dads and caregivers?
Yeah, I do. And I know that that can be hard and touchy for some, but I know for myself, it was the experience of having the hard and hurtful experience of my boys was a wake up to myself. It really was. Would I wish that my boys didn't have the conditions that they have? Because in my head, I had a whole different plan for them, right? In my head, like they were going to be these other versions of themselves because I thought, well, success and happiness can only come maybe in those sorts of bodies. And that was my immature self thinking that.
Oh, me too. Me
But
too.
now I know that their course has been changed as it should be, as it should have been. So really, there's a perfection in it. I couldn't see that for the longest time, but the ripple effect of having, the boys that I've had, of me going through the hard journey that I've gone through, absolutely, I'm grateful for it. I wouldn't want to do it again. I will be honest about that.
Yeah.
But really, it's been my wake up call to myself. I was not an empowered woman. I was not someone who knew herself. I was kind of doing what I thought I should be doing. It was just such a lesser life, really.
Yeah. I saw, as you were talking, I saw a leaf just kind of floating in the wind. I think a lot of us can relate to that of, I kind of feel like I'm just floating in the wind, and I want this to mean more. I want this to be more. And it sounds like you really are empowering your clients to be more and to feel more and to not be more, do more, right? Like what you were saying,
Yeah.
like give more, do more. No, this shell that we're in, that it should feel good. And it should, you've heard everyone talk about the cathedral of our body, or that it's our special, beautiful, magical space. And yet we need to feel good in it in every way, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. And it sounds like you're really just creating opportunities for people to feel like they have a strategy, so that, yeah, sometimes when they're floating in the wind, it's all fine, but they are going to settle on the pond. And then that ripple effect of that beautifully settling leaf ripples out, and everyone feels the joy that you're wanting.
That's the goal for sure. And I would say for anyone who's in that place of discomfort and life doesn't feel good and ick, in a way, I would be glad, wake up, because the discomfort precedes the discovery. Mm. And if you can start to say, oh my gosh, I don't like this, then you're finally maybe seeing things in a way that will allow you to make different choices. And when we make those choices and we say, you know what, doing it this way again, wow, I'm going to have more of the same. Maybe I should try doing it a little different. Yeah. And that's exactly how I started to make my turnaround. And it was just one decision at a time of going, oh, if I keep thinking that thought, I'm going to keep feeling like this. Maybe I want to see and try something else out. Maybe I want to delegate, get somebody to come in here and help me. It does not have to be me. Mm-hmm. Starting to see that, wow, okay, how can we do some things different? Starting to realize, wow, like I wasn't very good at that. Maybe I need to learn something,
Right.
Maybe I need to go get some skills that can be really, really helpful. Yeah. And it's very possible. I know it can so seem when you're in the trenches, that's like, oh my gosh, my life's going to be like this forever. It does not have to be. You do have the power to take it back.
Well, let's talk about the power that you're going to help people with your signature program that you're launching. Yeah. It's called the Reclamation Journey. It is. So tell us a little bit about that and how people can get information on it and when it's launching and all of that.
I'm super excited. It is called the Reclamation Journey. Really, it's all of those things that helped me go from feeling hurt to healed. And it contains really 4 elements that I thought were really important for my success. And one was, you've got to know some things about yourself. You've got to have some tools. If you're living without strategies, you've got to have these things like emotional skills and tools for dealing with all of your thoughts, because that's where we lose our power. So we need to know some things about that. We need to do some healing work. That's super important. We talked about that. So that's an element as well. And you need to have some guidance. Like most of us, if you are like me, we're kind of guessing as we go through, we're winging it, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so what can you do to have really a guidance system that you can rely on? So in this program, there are 4 stages, if you will. One is all about kind of finding yourself, right? So we got to start with you. The second one is refining your power to work confidently in your life. Then there's finding some love. We got to reclaim that. We got to get back to the heart. We need to do some tending to what's been going on there. And then there's a final one where you're finding kind of some guidance. What is that guidance system that you can rely on? Really tuning in and connecting with your true self. I teach everyone how to talk to their actual true self. There's a spiritual, magical kind of trick that we do, and everyone really loves that. So it's a combination of one-on-one work with me, very intimate setting with a group. There is time for application. There's time for questions and answers. There's beautiful guided meditations that we'll do in every session. So it's a very, I think, beautiful, intimate, but also very deep. We do go deep. And so in that way, you can get really, really great results. But it's taken in 4 levels. Folks can take that as they like. They can repeat them. They can pause. There's a whole program outline on my website if anyone is interested in that, and hope to be starting enrollment. Where are we? We're in March. Starting enrollment probably later this month and in through April, and getting that up and going probably late April. So
fantastic. And where would they go to find your website?
Try to make it simple for everyone. So it's just AnnetteMoreau.com. And Moreau is spelled Moreau. If you'll go there, click on the offering page where it says all the stuff that I do, and you'll see down there under the learning section is where there's info on that. And
I can put links to that on the show notes as well, so people can check that out.
Perfect.
Annette, this has been a really good conversation. Just the way you present and the way you talk through things, I can understand how people really do connect with you and feel like they're in a safe space to be vulnerable and to reclaim their power on this journey. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity for people to get a chance to work with you in a group setting, but people can also work with you one-on-one. Yes?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I do take clients one-on-one, and we do a variety of things as per each client's needs. So glad to chat with anybody about that. There's also links on the website where you can just make a conversation appointment with me, and we can just say, hey, what's going on? What would work for you? What do you need right now? We all need support.
We do. You taking time today has just given us a lot of support, as our listeners will attest to, I'm sure. So thank you very much for your time. And I look forward to maybe having you back, and we can talk about how the reclamation program is going.
Love it. Anytime. Thanks, Jen, so much.
Thanks. After the show, I realized I forgot to ask Annette what her one word would be to describe her sons. And she wrote me back an email when I asked, and she said the word would be teacher, which I think we can all relate. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you found 1 or 2 meaningful nuggets of information to make your day better. If you think there's value in what we do, please take a moment to tell another friend, family member, or a caregiver. We'd love to hear from you at forourspecialkids@gmail.com. You can send in a question, a comment, a topic that you'd like to learn more about, or if you'd like us to highlight a certain person, please send that information to us. It makes our show so much better and so much more valuable for you. Our Facebook and Instagram handle is For Our Special Kids. And finally, remember to witness the wonder and the wisdom within yourself and others. Until next time.